Maybe you've spent your whole life being called too sensitive. Maybe people say you overthink everything. Maybe you've even wondered if something was wrong with you. But what if those aren't flaws at all? What if they're actually signs of a rare kind of intelligence that almost nobody recognizes? Stay until the end, because the final sign doesn't just explain this intelligence. It explains where it often comes from. And once you understand it, you may never see yourself the same way again. This isn't the kind of intelligence measured by IQ tests. Schools rarely reward it. Most people who have it spend years believing they're simply different, or worse, that something is wrong with them. But in the next few minutes, you'll discover 7 signs psychologists associate with exceptional pattern recognition and emotional awareness. And you'll see why the people who have these abilities are often the last to recognize them in themselves. Now here's the interesting part. The 7th sign isn't really a skill. It's the reason all the others exist. It doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from school. And it doesn't come naturally for everyone. We'll come back to it. For now, see how many of these sound familiar. Sign number 1, you read a room before anyone speaks. You walk into a room and instantly feel that something's different. Someone's upset. 2 people probably argued. The mood feels off. Nobody has said a single word. Psychologists call this thin slicing. Your brain rapidly combines tiny signals like facial expressions, posture, movement, and tone into one overall impression. Many people assume you're simply too sensitive. But in many cases, your brain is processing more information than most people even notice. That's not just a feeling. That's fast pattern recognition. Sign number 2, you predict people. Sometimes you know exactly how a conversation is going to end only moments after it begins. You sensed the breakup. You saw the betrayal coming. You noticed the workplace conflict weeks before everyone else. People call it intuition. But often it's something more practical. Your brain has quietly built detailed models of human behavior from thousands of small observations. Without realizing it, you're constantly comparing today's behavior with everything you've already learned. And here's an interesting question. Why would a brain ever need models that precise? Hold on to that thought. The next sign is probably the one you've apologized for the most. Sign number 3, your brain never really switches off. It's 2 in the morning. You're replaying a conversation from 3 days ago. You keep wondering why someone answered with a single word. Feels exhausting. Psychologists call this rumination. When it becomes excessive, it can absolutely be unhealthy. But underneath it is something interesting. Your brain naturally runs through possibilities before it lets them go. Keeps asking, what happens if this happens? What did I miss? What should I prepare for next? Strategists spend years learning scenario planning. For you, your mind often does it automatically. The challenge isn't that your brain thinks too much. It's that it rarely knows when it's safe to stop. Sign number 4, you detect lies before you can explain why. Sometimes a story just doesn't feel right. Nothing obvious. Just something small. A smile arrives a little too late. The words sound right, but the emotion doesn't. Weeks later, you find out your instincts were right all along. Your brain quietly builds a baseline for how people normally behave. When something doesn't match that pattern, it notices immediately, even before your conscious mind understands why. Most people hear words. You're paying attention to the entire person. Remember the question from sign 2. Why would a brain need this level of awareness? We're getting very close to the answer. Sign number 5, you stay calm when everything falls apart. When everyone else panics, you become strangely calm. Instead of freezing, your mind begins organizing. Step 1. Step 2. Solve the problem. People often assume that's confidence. Sometimes it's something else. If you've experienced enough uncertainty in life, your nervous system may become unusually familiar with high-pressure situations. Chaos feels strangely familiar. But here's the important question. Why would someone become comfortable in situations that overwhelm everyone else? The final signs connect everything you've heard so far. Sign number 6, you connect ideas nobody else sees. People are often surprised by the connections you make. You jump from psychology to history, to business, to everyday life, and somehow they all fit together. Researchers call this associative thinking. It's one of the strongest markers of creative intelligence. Standardized tests rarely measure it. So while others thought you were scattered, your brain may simply have been working across a much wider network of ideas. Sign number 7, where this intelligence often begins. Here's the part almost nobody expects. None of these abilities appear out of nowhere. For many people, they were built, quietly, over years, sometimes during the hardest seasons of life. Researchers studying children who grew up in unpredictable environments have found something remarkable. Alongside emotional wounds, some people also develop extraordinary awareness. Watching every expression, reading every mood, predicting people's reactions, learning who was safe, learning when danger was coming. Hypervigilance became perception. Walking on eggshells became emotional precision. That doesn't mean everyone with these traits experienced hardship. And it certainly doesn't mean hardship is required for intelligence. But for many people, difficult environments didn't just leave scars. They also trained remarkable pattern recognition skills. So maybe you were never simply too sensitive. Maybe you weren't broken. Maybe the qualities you've spent years apologizing for were actually adaptations that helped you survive. Here's something to notice this week. The next time you quietly sense something about a person, don't dismiss it immediately. Pause. Observe. See what happens. You might discover your mind has been recognizing patterns long before your conscious thoughts catch up. And now those same abilities don't have to stay focused on danger. They can help you recognize opportunities instead. If this video helped you understand yourself in a new way, subscribe. Every week we explore the psychology behind human behavior, intelligence, and the hidden patterns that shape our lives. And if you think this rare intelligence sounds like a gift, the next video explains why people with minds like this often struggle to feel genuinely happy, and, more importantly, what they can do about it. I'll see you there.